I was home alone one night in my apartment that I share with my friend Tommy. I don't remember exactly what he was doing, but I think he was hanging out at a friend's house or something. This happened about 2 months ago. So the apartment that we share has 3 bedrooms. I, myself, and Tommy have our own rooms, of course. And then I have a spare bedroom I use as my office and gaming room. I spend most of my time in the gaming room rather than my bedroom. I pay the rent, so that's why I'm able to take ownership of the extra room. Anyways, it was just a normal Friday night, and I was in my gaming room playing Call of Duty Warzone with my friends all night. I stepped out of the room at some point so I could use the bathroom and get a drink of water. I didn't notice at first glance, but when I walked out of the bathroom, I saw that my bedroom light was on. I thought that was really weird because I specifically remember turning my bedroom light off earlier in the day. Oh well, I thought. I told myself that I was most likely just overthinking, and that I probably forgot to turn it off. I didn't even bother to go in my room and turn it off either, as I didn't want to get kicked from the game I was in. When you're away from keyboard for too long in Call of Duty, it will kick you for being inactive, so I hurried back to my desk and continued playing with my friends. I'd say I was playing for about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, and I heard this insanely loud noise in my apartment. It sounded like a gigantic rock dropped from the ceiling onto the floor. It was extremely loud and it scared the hell out of me at first. I thought maybe it was just my cats at first because they get the zoomies sometimes late at night and will often knock things down and get into things they aren't supposed to. But I second guessed myself when I opened the door and glared out into the living room. Every single light was turned on in the house, except for my bedroom light. My heart started beating so fast because logically, I could only draw out 2 plausible scenarios. Either Tommy came home early and I just didn't know it yet, or there was a stranger in my apartment. My roommate Tommy would never go into my room though unannounced, so as much as I wanted to believe that it was him, I sort of ruled it out, and that's when my anxiety doubled into a panic attack. I own a gun that I keep in my closet hidden away, so all I had to do was get to that, and I was going to be a-okay. I stood there for a moment just trying to think of my plan as quickly as possible, because if there was someone in my room and it was a stranger, who knows what I would be up against. My thoughts were racing so hard that all I could think of was to barge in my room and just go straight for my gun. As I was getting closer and closer to my bedroom door, my adrenaline continued to accelerate through the roof. I finally built up enough courage and I opened my door as fast as I could. I took one brief look around and there was no one in sight, so I ran straight to my closet and grabbed my handgun. I looked in the closet and under my bed and there was no one there. But then I noticed that my bedroom window was cracked open by about an inch or so. That's when I came to the realization that somebody definitely broke into my apartment. That whoever it was escaped through my window before I could get to them to see who it was. I immediately ran to make sure all of the other windows in my apartment were locked, and I checked the front door, and the glass sliding door as well. I called Tommy right away to let him know what happened. I was hoping that he was playing a prank on me or something, but he wasn't. He was just as freaked out as I was, and he rushed home immediately. I searched the whole house while I waited for Tommy to get home, in case there was anyone else in our apartment. I checked every closet, every room, and every spot I could think of that you could hide in, just to be sure. But there was no one to be found. That gave me a large amount of relief, but it was still hard to sleep that night, because I kept asking myself the same questions, and I couldn't get the whole situation out of my mind. Who would want to break into my apartment? And what did they want? And just what the hell? I just couldn't believe that it happened like it all. I think whoever it was literally just walked through the front door and let themselves in. Tommy has a bad habit of not locking the door, so that's how I think the intruder got in. In no way, shape, or form am I blaming Tommy for what happened, but yeah. It's been 2 months now, and the constant thoughts I have about it and my anxiety still eat me alive. My girlfriend works at a bar in town. Sometimes I leave to pick her up from work a few minutes early, and I kill time by driving around and listening to music. It was about 10:30 p.m. when I took a left-hand turn down Main Street by the high school and I saw a man in the distance. As I got closer, I saw that he was staring at me. He was staring directly at my car for well over 30 seconds, which kind of gave me the creeps. As I got even closer, I got a better look at him. He was a very tall and skinny, an old, frail-looking man with really long gray, greasy hair. I came to a stop at the stop sign, and ironically enough, as I came to a complete stop, he was parallel with me, from my driver's side door on the other side of the street, all while still staring at me. I looked away, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw that he put his hand up in an effort to gain my attention, which I ignored completely and continued driving. I was less than a half mile now of a drive to the bar that my girlfriend works at, and when I got there, I parked my car and waited for her to be done so we could go home. I was still pretty early, so I took my phone out and killed more time by watching videos on TikTok and messaging my friends back. I must have been looking at my phone for at least 10 or 15 minutes, because when I looked up, I saw that man I saw earlier standing by the bar, leaning against the wall, smoking a cigarette. He had to have noticed me, and that I was the same car that he had seen only 20 minutes ago, but I wasn't completely sure. He wasn't staring at me or anything, so I started to think that maybe he didn't notice me. I waited for another 10 minutes, and I texted my girlfriend and told her to exit out of the front door instead of the back door, because there was a creepy old man out there who tried to stop and talk to me, and I told her how he had been walking around all night and how he was staring at me. I realize I probably sound paranoid, and maybe I am, but oh well. I only had her safety in mind, so that's all that really matters. She walked out a few minutes later, and she didn't see my text, so she walked out of the back door like she usually would, which meant she had to walk right past the strange man who was standing on the corner. As soon as she turned the corner, he started talking to her, and I'm not even going to say what he said to her, but he was sexually harassing her vocally with his bleak comments. It all happened so fast, and I didn't know what he was saying until my girlfriend got into the car and told me. But then I saw him grab her by the arm as she was walking away, and he ripped her back towards him. I stepped out of the car and I beat the living hell out of him. I made sure I broke his nose after I knocked him out unconscious, and I continued stomping on his face while he was passed out. I took my girlfriend back to the car and I grabbed a pen and one of my sticky notes and I wrote on it, and I quote, "If I ever see you again, I'm going to kill you," and I stuck it right on his forehead. We later found out that he was a convicted sex offender and that he has a very horrible past, from crimes all the way from sexual assault, drug charges, and something to do with a child. I haven't seen him since, and somehow I never got in trouble for beating him up either. But I swear, if I ever see him again, there will be hell to pay. I've always been a very antisocial person. I've tried my best to grow out of it, but the older I've got, the worse it has become. I have a family that I love dearly and that I'm unbelievably thankful for, but sometimes I just need my space and time alone to decompress and do what I love. I built a cabin in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, in the city of Marquette. The cabin is in the middle of the woods, and I go hunting up there as well as ice fishing. That's mainly how I spend my time there. When I'm not doing that, I'm either cooking or relaxing in the cabin by my fireplace reading a book or drawing. I do lots of light cardio workouts as well. I really do enjoy my time up there alone, but I do miss my family practically the whole time I'm there. However, it's just something that I love to do, and my wife completely understands and supports me in my hobbies, as do I with her. This particular time I am talking about, I was staying in the cabin from Thursday night and I would leave Monday morning. Well, that was the plan anyways. I ended up leaving after the second day of being there. On the first night, there was a horrible unexpected snowstorm, and it was already late, so I decided to warm up in bed and read my book until I fell asleep. I woke up at the crack of dawn and made myself breakfast. I got dressed and got all of my hunting gear and I was on my way. I walked about a mile, maybe a little bit more, until I found what I thought would be a good spot to set up. I sat and waited quietly and patiently for a deer to pass by. About 45 minutes later, I finally saw one. It was a decent-sized buck, but he was quite far away. He was completely still before I took the shot, but still, I missed. Soon after that, I moved around and relocated to another spot that I found. That was maybe another half-mile of a walk. I set my area up and once again I waited. Then I heard something behind me, so instinctively I turned around to see what it was. It was a man, probably a few years older than I was, but he wasn't a hunter. I knew because he didn't have any hunting gear at all, and he wasn't wearing orange either. "Hello," I said. "Can I help you?" "Yes, thank you, sir. I'm so happy I found someone. My family and I are stranded on the side of the road about 2 miles from here, and we are lost. My family is in the car waiting for me right now." Then he started asking me for directions, to which I helped him the best I could. Now keep in mind, you don't get very good cell phone service out here, so he couldn't call anybody. He said all he needed was $5 and a gas can, and that his car stalled because he ran out of fuel while he was lost and driving around. Out of the kindness of my heart, I walked him back to my cabin, and I drove him to the nearest gas station and filled up my gas can with about $10 worth of gas, and I gave it to him. And I offered to drive him back to his car. He took my offer, so off we were headed towards his car, where his family was supposedly stranded. As we were driving and getting closer to his stranded car, he was being strangely quiet, which gave me a bad feeling and made me feel a bit timid. We finally found his car, and that's when he told me to stop the car and to let him out. It was an old beat-up red Pontiac. Before he got out of the car, he told me to drive away as fast as I could. He told me that the men in the car were going to try and rob me and beat me up. I was so confused because it all happened so quickly, but I took his word for it and drove off. As I drove past the car, I saw 2 other men, one in the driver's seat and the other in the front passenger seat. They both had ski masks on, and one of them had what looked like to be a crowbar. I'm sure they had other weapons as well. I wasn't sure if the whole plan was to rob me, and that maybe he started to feel bad for me and changed his mind, and that was his way of saving me from getting jumped and robbed, or whatever the hell was going on. That's kind of what I feel like happened. Maybe they really did need gas, but I think the man that I helped out, which never told me his name by the way, was originally trying to set me up to get robbed. Maybe it was because I had a damn rifle with me and he got cold feet about the situation. I have no idea. I didn't know what to do, and I obviously couldn't trust that guy enough that he wouldn't spill to them where my cabin was, which was where I was staying for the time being. I felt my safety was definitely at stake here, so I packed my things and left to go home early. I left about an hour after that whole incident, and honestly, the worst part about this day was, I came home to find my wife cheating on me with another man. I didn't call and tell my wife that I was coming home early, and I'm glad I didn't, because I probably never would have found out she was being unfaithful and having an affair. We are divorced now, and I live alone. I'm supposed to be going to the Upper Peninsula this year again, but I'm probably going to bring a friend with me this time because of what happened last time.